Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. So I'll just do a quick introduction. So first of all, very warm welcome. This is to go through the new pre-entry level award in Introduction to Learning for Speakers of Other Languages. So today we've got myself, Graham Harwood. I'm the commercial manager, and I look after the new pre-entry ESOL qualification, ESOL and community interpreting. We have Dawn Smith here. Dawn, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, hi everyone. I'm Dawn Smith and I am the Product Development Manager for ESOL, English and Community Interpreting.
And we're very lucky today. We also have Joanne Partridge with us. Joanne is a QA Manager at Ascentis.
Hello, I'm a QA Manager and I look after ESOL and ILSOL and Community Interpreting and English.
ILSOL's our little abbreviation for the new qualities. We love an acronym. So I'll get started without further ado. So first of all, for those of you that are sort of new to Ascentis, I'll give a very brief history. We were first established in 1975, previously known as the Open College Northwest, and we became Ascentis in 2009. We are an awarding organisation and access validating agency. Our Ofqual regulated provision, we carry the best possible rating. So our rating with Ofqual is substantial at last audit, and also we carry a low risk rating with the QAA, and that's for our access to higher education diplomas. And we're of course also regulated by Qualification Wales and SEA in Northern Ireland. But what I will say as well, I'll send out all these slides following the webinar, and do feel free to interact. If you have any questions throughout, please feel free to use the question box and type questions, and we'll answer those as we go. We want to make sure that we cover everything in this, so we're sort of going to give a presentation and then questions throughout, and of course opportunities to answer questions at the end. So here we have a little bit more about Ascentis. We are, a lot of people don't know this, but we're a registered educational charity, and that's very much at the heart of everything that we do. We want to ensure that we're giving learners the best possible opportunities to meet their full potential, to move on to further education and work. The majority of our qualifications are eligible for funding under the ESFA. And the ESOL qualification is the largest of our Ofqual regulated provision. I think we had just under 52,000 learner registrations last year, and that continues to grow into this year. So it's become a very, very popular way of assessing ESOL. So now I'm just going to give you a sort of a background really to why we developed this pre-entry qualification. We very much see the relationship that we have with our many ESOL centres as a collaboration. We encourage centres to contact us right throughout the academic year, and we had a sort of an overwhelming demand and sort of questions: do we offer anything for pre-entry in terms of resources or support? So we wanted to make sure throughout the development of this qualification that it was a collaboration, that we were able to meet these pre-entry needs. So importantly, choosing the title was interesting. As many of you all know, Ofqual don't actually recognise anything below an entry 1 qualification. They sort of see entry 1 as bottomless, which can be potentially confusing to ESOL learners if we went down that regulated route and made it regulated and therefore entry 1, but really pre-entry. We thought we wanted to keep it true to the qualification, so we made it pre-entry, and therefore it sits in that non-regulated category. But it's still sort of Ascentis accredited. It's got that quality assurance stamp on from an AO, and we titled it Pre-Entry Level Award in Introduction to Learning for Speakers of Other Languages. But as you can see there, it's undergone the same sort of rigour as you would expect a regulated qualification to go through. It's robust and quality assured, and we understand that this qualification will save you a lot of time when evidencing and claiming funding under RAPA. It's sort of ready-made, if you will. There's no minimum registrations. So you can register learners at any point prior to assessment, and that's right throughout the academic year. Importantly, what you get from Ascentis is that personalised and flexible support from a subject specialist EQA. So if you decide to deliver this qualification, they will be in touch on approval with staff training resources, and there's no restrictions on how often you can contact them. The purpose of this qualification is very much designed to help learners develop those skills and confidence in reading, writing, listening and speaking English. It's very flexible. I'll touch on the guided learning hours shortly, but you can deliver this over a shorter or longer period of time, or we've given it sort of a guided learning hours of 80, but it's very much adaptable to the needs of the learners that arrive with you at your centres. Certification is quick within Ascentis. Typically, certificates arrive within 4 weeks. I believe in reality it is much sooner. But the outcomes of this qualification are mapped to the bottom end of the Entry 1 ESOL core curriculum. And they're very much the spirit of the qualification is to build a learner's confidence, first of all, in the learning environment and classroom, and just underpin those core skills in order to progress successfully onto Entry 1 ESOL. So in terms of the development of the qualification, we worked with 6 centres and we tried to keep it simple. So in terms of very flexible assessment methods, and we will go through the assessment method in a bit more detail. I've got all the papers in the background that I'll go through. But yes, there is a mapping document available. We've done a mapping exercise to show how the qualification directly links with the ESOL core curriculum, and I'll send that as an attachment along with the slides afterwards, so you can see how it kind of directly links. But yeah, it's definitely at the bottom end of links with the core curriculum. Which is sort of an off-core requirement, isn't it, if you will, to sort of demonstrate that difference in level of language.
Yes,
right.
yeah. I mean, we needed to be sure that what we were doing was pre-entry, and therefore what we did was we started off with centres and we looked at the sort of things that we would like to cover, and then we went back to the core curriculum and decided which were the sort of the minimum requirements at Entry 1, and then we used those to develop this qualification.
So the qualification, these are the aims taken from the specification. So I'll just read them out here. So to operate confidently in a learning environment, to begin their studies in English with confidence, and to develop basic underpinning skills in English listening, speaking, reading and writing. So as you can see there, the qualification is aimed at a range of learners, and I think it's very much, we saw an influx of sort of refugees and asylum seekers, and learners may be non-literate or literate in another script, but not necessarily be able to access the Latin script. And this qualification is really sort of aimed at total beginners, if you will, so you have had little or no experience of formal learning. So I'll just show you where the spec is. So the specification is available on the Ascentis website, the open access website, and it gives you a brief sort of overview of the qualification. You can see the units of assessment there. So language for the learning environment, language for the classroom, speaking, listening, reading and writing. So I'll just quickly take you to the web page. So if you just, it's ascentis.co.uk, and you can click onto qualifications, all qualifications, and then we are just a little bit further down, so introduction to learning for speakers of other languages. It kind of gives you a description of what to expect, and then there's also a link here, and there's a little bit about funding. So this award is non-regulated and attracts a category B, non-regulated English, Maths and ESOL funding, and I've sort of hyperlinked this to one of the Z codes that you could use for this qualification. So as you can see here, non-regulated adult skills formula funded provision, pre-entry level ESOL, 69 to 92 hours. So we've given it a recommended 80 guided learning hours for this qualification, but as I said, you can run it in less or more, but this is just sort of an example and it sits nicely into this bracket, and as you'll be able to see here, the funding available on the matrix there is £450 per learner, but we've done a lot of work with Bij Kazmarczyk this year, and he's just delivered a webinar which was recorded to sort of support you further when sort of drawing down this kind of funding. So I can certainly send links to that as well after. And then the specification is just on this hyperlink here. This is free for tutors and centres to kind of use. It gives kind of an overview of the qualification, the assessment method, indicative content, that sort of thing. Okay. So I've got a snapshot here of the resources that are available through this qualification, and so there is, when you sign up, you get access to the assessor guidance, and that's got various resources in, and I'll bring that up shortly. We have sample assessments, plus there's an additional 3 sets of sort of live papers, if you will. You have the mapping documents available, EQA support, and then those staff training resources, those slides to share with your team. And as with our ESOL qualification, we've given guide times to this qualification to kind of assist with timetabling. Okay, so just first of all, the learning skills unit. So language for the learning environment and language for the classroom. So the learning outcomes, assessment criteria and indicative content can be found on page 10 and 11 of the spec. And I've just copied them here for kind of your information. So as you can see here, language for the learning environment, you've got identify key facility, use in the place of learning, identify a member of staff contact, and then language for the classroom, attending to the best of their ability, understanding the importance of punctuality, things like that. In terms of the evidence details, Ascentis require minimal details, but you can really take this as far as you want to go, and the box can be expanded. These documents are available on a Word document, so can be edited. Do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I think the idea of this was that you can actually use your own evidence that you will already have, so you can use it in that way. But for us, really, it's minimal evidence. This is for you to say that learners have achieved this. We were keen on, for example, in terms of attendance, that we should be saying learners should attend to the best of their ability, and not to be too prescriptive about that. So that the judgment as to whether that has taken place lies with the teacher. So it's to build really those good habits for learners who are perhaps going to go on to entry 1, and so to build those habits of attendance being important, good listening skills being important, but to also recognise that maybe for these learners, they may have family commitments that make it hard for them to achieve a high percentage attendance, or they may have their own health or personal issues which make that difficult. So it was for the teacher to make that judgment, but just to share with the learners the importance of those behaviours really in terms of carrying on learning. Okay.
So moving on to the speaking and listening unit. So we're composed of 3 tasks, and these tasks can be taken together or at different times. There's no requirement to record here. We did have a discussion about it, but I thought maybe learners at this level, it wasn't necessary. However, it's if you felt that would be best practice for the classroom, we can actually really prepare learners, and that's fine. We thought just at this level, there's no requirement to record. We have put together some picture prompts and a defined vocabulary, and you can also use your own images here, your own items. But what I will do, I'll just bring up the assessor guidance now for us to have a look at. I seem to have. Okay.
So if I carry on. So,
Yeah.
so the idea for the no recording was, when we thought about it, actually much of the test was listening, and therefore there didn't seem to be much point in recording the teacher. So that was one of the reasons that we didn't go for recording, but we did have quite a long conversation about using recording being good practice for those learners in getting them used to the to being recorded. Within the assessor guidance, we've put pictures there, I think about from page 12 onwards, and those are pictures to use in the assessment. They come separately, and they come as a Word version, so that you can take those off, and you can laminate them and have them as a separate folder. So the pictures we chose very carefully, but when we were taking it around to centres and discussing it, and when we were having it reviewed, the pictures were, I think, the thing that caused most controversy. So it was that you know, pictures are always difficult. So it was, the mango doesn't look like a mango. We don't like the eyebrow on the eye, down to that level. So we decided that we'd done our very best with the pictures, but if you don't like them, then it's very possible for you to either substitute in your own picture or to change them completely. But this is just to give you an idea, and it's handy as well. So there was also the idea that you could use real items if you wanted to, and you could also one centre, that one of the 6 centres that we worked with said that they liked their learners to sort of make their own picture dictionaries, and it was if you like to work like that and you like your learners to use their own picture dictionaries and use magazines or advertising stuff, then that was absolutely fine for you to do so. So that's to give you an idea. The activities for the speaking and listening are, it starts off with greetings, and then it goes on to questions, sort of personal questions. And again, those are the sort of questions that you may want to, some will be suitable for some learners and some won't. So how old are you may be appropriate, may not be. Are you married? Obviously may be appropriate, may not be, depending on your context where you're working. But those were the type of questions. Graham's just pulled up the mark scheme for you there, which is which gives you an idea of the of what we're expecting in terms of achievement. We then have using pictures or using prompts for very simple vocabulary areas. So it will be things like the classroom, parts of the body, town. And we've left that, really, it's much of it is about recognition as well as production. And we've left that for you to put a context to, or to leave as it is, as very simple. So it could be that you show a picture and say, what is this? And you know, some people may consider that that's not very skills for life. And if you wanted to add a context around it, you could do. So that's all possible within the assessor guidance. Then there are some final questions which are eliciting a little bit more language, and it's the teacher asks 3 questions and the learner just needs to respond appropriately to 1. So it was at this stage in the development, we were trying to keep the vocabulary required to something that would be required for all learners. So it really is very simple stuff, but we've we've defined that vocabulary as well. That's at the back of the assessor guidance.
This is the assessment record that I've got on the screen at the minute. So this is just a way of tracking your learners. So they'll just write the learners' names on that sheet and just tick when they've achieved each task, and then just the date that's achieved, and then sign at the bottom. So that's the tracking sheet. And then I was just going to do the defined vocabulary. Here we go. So we've done some defined vocabulary, and this is in the assessor guidance as well to support everything.
Yeah, and that works for the speaking and listening and the reading and writing. So
and that takes us nicely into the reading and writing. So reading and writing, there's two types of assessments here. So the independent assessment, and that's composed of 3 tasks, and a teacher-led assessment, which is composed of 4 tasks. And tasks may be taken together or at different times. The learning outcomes, assessment criteria, and indicative content are all on page 13 of the specification, again on the open access website. And then an assessment record, similar to what I've just shown you for the speaking and listening, is on page 11 of the assessor guide in terms of recording learners' achievement. So the independent assessment, and here are the 3 tasks. So the learner can trace and copy letters. Task 2, the learner matches upper and lower case letters. And task 3, there is a very simple form here. We had a question yesterday about the form, didn't we?
We did. We had a question which was around the accuracy required in the form. And we aren't expecting, this is pre-entry, we aren't expecting entry 1 type accuracy. So what we've said is that for the name, we want either the first or the second name to be recognisable. There are similar requirements for the request, but it is definitely, everyone, when we were developing it, everyone felt that it should be there, and it is really recognising the importance of being able to fill in a form. But it was still recognising that this isn't entry 1, this is pre-entry. So, for example, we were happy to accept uppercase, lowercase, or a mix. It's so we weren't being so prescriptive as entry 1.
And the guide time on this is 20 minutes. And then we have the teacher-led assessment. So this test takes place with 1 learner and 1 assessor, and it can take place straight after the speaking and listening test where appropriate. And the guide time here is 10 minutes. So task 1, you'll have a couple of signs, and the learner, you'll point to them and the learner will tell you what they mean, and then the same with the numbers.
So yeah, if I can just chip in. So again, the signs are defined. We've just chosen 6 or 7 signs. We have suggested, I think, for 1, that you may want to put your own sign in, and that would be depending where you live in terms of transport. So that there may be, you know, a London Underground sign or a Newcastle Metro sign or whatever. And for the numbers, whereas we normally use the same font and we try to keep that clarity. For the numbers, we are using different fonts because we felt it was important that learners should be able to recognise numbers in a range of contexts, and they were really important. So there are numbers on there. Thanks.
And here are the final 3 tasks. So task 2, the teacher says any 6 numbers between 1 and 10, and the learner writes them as digits. Task 3, the teacher says any 6 CVC words from a list, and that's page 8 of the assessor guidance, and the learner will then write the words. And task 4, the learner reads 6 words from a list of social site words. Do you have anything else to say?
No, we chose the CVC words because I think, as many of you will know, in terms of functional skills, there was that idea of sort of phonics coming in, but we've gone for just a very limited number of words that learners are likely to meet, and words with short vowels and very, very clear spelling. So that was the idea behind those.
Bring up some of the assessment papers so you can just kind of see how they look and feel. Again, sort of nicely mirror the ESOL papers, sort of easy on the eye, very clearly laid out. This is the independent assessment. So you trace those letters, copy these letters. Task 2, match the letters and draw a line. And then that's task 3, filling in the form. And then the teacher-led assessment. Again, and this first box here, if it's the same assessor assessing everything, you just need to name, sign and date once, and you can ditto the rest if it's the same. And the same with the date. If the task is complete on the same date, just write the date in the first box and then ditto. And again, here you have those signs and numbers. Listen and write the numbers, listen and write the words. And then task 4, read and say the words. So that just gives you a feel of the papers.
So, and we thought that would perhaps follow nicely from the speaking test, and that you could run on the speaking test and the teacher-led reading and writing. But that's only if it works, and obviously those tasks can be separated and put into smaller chunks so that you can do it when the time is appropriate in the classroom.
And then that sort of is the qualification in an overview. But of course, there's lots of things evolving. We have lots of plans, don't we, Dawn?
Yeah. So so we worked with a few centres and we worked with subject experts when we were writing, and then we took it out to centres to have a look at and to make suggestions. Unfortunately, we took it out to 6 centres rather than 5, so that very often 3 centres would like something and 3 centres would prefer a change. But in terms of future plans, when we went to centres, they said that they would like some additional units, which we're working on at the moment. So those are, for me, there was an initial hesitation really, because this doesn't link so neatly to the adult ESOL core curriculum. Some of the vocabulary involved will be above level. However, we felt that it was addressing the needs of learners, and therefore it was worth pursuing. So these new units, those were some of the ideas that people came up with. So it was around employability and school, in terms of taking a child to school, what to expect, and another one was British values. So again, my initial thought was that's going to be above level. How can we talk about tolerance, democracy, and freedom of expression at pre-entry? But actually, I said this to a centre, and then I went in to see the work that they were doing, and so that will be a possibility. At the moment, we're doing something called the idea of learners being able to tell their own story, to be able to say where they're from, where they live now, and to be able to talk about themselves. So that's we're working on that at the moment, and we've also had the suggestion, which I thought was really good, that we should do something more local, which will be around getting around in your area, so local transport, places to go for information, places to visit, libraries, that sort of thing. So if you do have any suggestions, our names will come up at the end, and that's something that we could certainly look at. And those units would be sort of a separate thing as an add-on, so you could mix and match, I think. So, but that's well, at the moment we're writing them. So I have they've been written, and they are they've had their first review, and they've just gone off for their second review. So they will be coming soon, and then we'll look at the nuts and bolts of making it fit together. But any ideas will be much appreciated.
Before I close and go to any questions, of course, I've got to have a slide about the Ascentis ESOL portfolio. So I know that some of you already deliver it, some don't. So this is just really kind of a snapshot, really very, very small snapshot of some of the things that our customers say. So, you know, we always get comments on the quality and appropriateness of the content of the assessments and the appropriateness of the assessment method. Of the qualifications, and also I think the support as well. We have a great support element, especially with a specialism like ESOL. We do bespoke on-site staff training, bespoke verification. We have regional quality meetings that are subject specific to ESOL, where centres can get together to network with an ESOL specialist EQA, do some standardisation activities, and I know centres find those really useful. Everything that we develop, so ESOL and everything else, is always sort of designed to be minimal and streamlined paperwork, and then the assessment method to benefit both tutors and learners. The registration, it's very much designed for ESOL learners in terms of you can register learners just prior to assessment. So learners that might not be with you the whole year, learners that arrive halfway through the year, you don't need to register learners until they are ready to sit the assessment. And our assessments are task-based controlled assessments, designed to be taken on different days or together if you wish, and can be sat in controlled conditions in the classroom as opposed to exam halls. But again, that's your choice as a centre. We give you that flexibility based on the learners that arrive with you. And we've just released and launched a new testimonial video with a centre, and there's a link there. So when I send the slides, please do have a little look, and there's a little testimonial there as well. And then in terms of what's next, so centre recognition, qualification, approval. I'll just start with if you already deliver Ascentis ESOL, the process to sign up is very straightforward. You just need to register your interest with me, and then we have a short questionnaire to complete, but it's very sort of short really. If you don't deliver our ESOL qualifications, it would be a qualification, but you are an Ascentis recognised centre, it would be a qualification approval form. Again, short form, and if you're totally brand new to Ascentis, we'll need to take you through the centre recognition process. So I'll email the information out later, and then if you're interested, please do let me know, and I'll happy to check what status your centre is with us. And then next step, once we receive that, you'll be approved by quality assurance because everything will be fine. You'll be allocated a designated external quality assurer, and then they will be in touch with the next steps and the staff training resources. Here we have the contact details, so feel free to contact any of us with any questions. It's myself there, the commercial manager. We've got Dawn Smith, product development manager, and also Joe Stocking on there, and Joanne Partridge. So I just wondered, before I sort of close, does anybody have any questions that we can help you with? I know it's quite a lot of information to take in, but happy to take any questions. Here we go. Okie dokie. So, hi. Do the task-based assessments go from pre-entry to level 2, or are there exams at level 1 and level 2?
They are. It is task-based controlled assessments all the way through. So from pre-entry up to level 1 and level 2. On the website at the moment, you can see those papers, and there are. They can be separated as well, so that the writing tasks can be done on different occasions, and well, indeed they all can. The speaking and listening can be done on different occasions. The reading is separated into 3 tasks, possibly actually it's 4 at level 1 and level 2, and those can be done on separate occasions, but a complete paper needs to be completed for achievement. But yes, it does go through all the levels.
Thank you. So, what I'll do, I'll sort of close the session then, but do send me any kind of questions following this afternoon's session. But yeah, I think there's no other questions.
Yeah, so please do. Yes, please feel free to email us and ask any questions that you have. Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much, everybody.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye.